Are these on, or do we push to put them on?
No, they're usually on, you just push mute.
Yeah, when you want to mute, you push and hold.
Okay, hello and welcome everyone to the Community Preservation Committee Annual Public Hearing being held today, Wednesday, June 12th, 2024 at the Yarmouth Town Hall Hearing Room. This is to formally advise that as required by General Law, Chapter 30A, Sections 18 through 25, and pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, and an act relative to extending certain state of emergency accommodations signed into law on July 16th, 2022, the Yarmouth Community Preservation Committee will hold a public meeting at the date and time noted. The public is welcome to attend either in person or via the alternative public access provided. And I'll turn it over to Gary Ellis, Chairman of the Community Preservation Committee.
Okay, so per our Zoom parameters, I have to take a roll call vote of our attendance today. So we have at the far left,
Judy Wilczynski here.
Joanne Crowley, present.
Lee Hamilton, present.
Gary Ellis present.
George Schlammer, present.
Paul Huggins present.
So we're just missing Christine, correct?
And Debbie.
And Marianne.
And Debbie.
Debbie, okay. Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for participating in the annual Community Preservation Public Hearing. My name is Gary Ellis. I am Chairman of the Community Preservation Committee. We are eager to provide you an update on all the exciting projects that we have going around town. We have a brief presentation for you, and then we would like to hear from you on new projects that would you like to see funded in our community. I will start our presentation with an overview of the Community Preservation Act, how the town reviews and approves projects for CPA funding, and the upcoming application process. In the end, we seek your ideas, either orally or via email, for new projects and how best to meet the needs and goals of the residents and taxpayers of Yarmouth. First of all, our Community Preservation Act. The Community Preservation Act was signed into law in Massachusetts in 2000 with a special version called the Modified CPA, which was approved in 2005 for Cape Cod communities that had previously adopted the Land Bank program back in 1998, which we were a member of here in Yarmouth. The adoption of the modified CPA replaced the Cape Cod Land Bank program with expanded areas of operation. As you know, the Community Preservation Act, or CPA, allows any town in the Commonwealth to adopt a property tax surcharge of up to 3%. The revenues in any state matching funds give Yarmouth a dedicated funding source to improve our community in 4 categories: community housing, historic resources, open space, and recreation. While the annual impact is not substantial on individual homeowners, the accumulation of the surcharge across the town's taxpayers, both homeowners and businesses, has brought in approximately $1.8 million annually for CPA purposes, though this figure has been slightly reduced as a result of the recent town meeting action. At the November 2020 town meeting, voters approved an article to adopt a $100,000 exemption to the CPA surcharge to adopt a corresponding surcharge of 0.78% to fund the new Water Infrastructure Investment Fund to fund clean water initiatives townwide. The exemption, which is to commonplace off-Cape, translates to a reduction of approximately $500,000 in CPA local revenues. By adopting the exemption, instead of a reduction in surcharge rate, the maximum state match amount is preserved to the fullest extent possible. This change was voted at the 2021 annual town election and took effect in fiscal year 2022. A 9-member committee, the Community Preservation Committee, oversees the fund. This committee reviews applications for funding, meets with applicants to discuss their proposals, and then make recommendations to town meeting. Our recommendations are based on many factors, including the overall benefit to the residents of Yarmouth and the ability to meet committee goals as outlined in our community preservation plan. We also monitor all of the projects to ensure that the funds are spent in accordance with the application and town meeting. Would also add something we put a high precedent on is getting matching funds. We love being seed money, so perhaps if you're going to propose a $1 million project, you're asking $300,000 from us. It's a big part of our application process that maybe you get matching funds to match that. So we end up being seed money. It's been a big part of what we've done over the past 20 years. At this time, I'll introduce the members. As I stated earlier, I am Gary Ellis, Committee Chair, and one of the 2 at-large members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. I'd like to introduce our newest member, Judy, can't pronounce that last name,
Wilchinski.
who is a second at-large member. Christine, can't pronounce her second name, who is not here today because she had to attend something off Cape, but she's been a great vice chairman and a great help to me. Debbie Clark represents the Recreation Commission, who is not here today. Joanne Crowley is a representative from the Planning Board. Paul Huggins represents the Conservation Commission. George Slammer represents the Historical Commission. Lee Hamilton is a representative from the Community Housing Committee. Mary Ann Walsh represents the Yarmouth Housing Authority. Next, I would like to talk about the Community Preservation Plan. This plan represents a description of the Community Preservation Act, a definition of CPA goals, guidelines, and instructions for applicants seeking project funding, and guidance for the committee to review applications and to make recommendations to town meeting. CPA funds are a dedicated funding source to improve our community for future generations. This plan is updated annually, and the committee is currently seeking public comment on our plan. Copies of the draft plan are available on the table and will be posted online later this week. Public comments will be taken until August 18th at 12 noon and can be mailed to Yarmouth Community Development Department, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth, or emailed to dflat@yarmouthmass.us until June 21st, and that is Don Marie's email.
And it is actually until August 18th. That's fine. Sorry.
Okay. As noted, CPA funds may be used on 4 types of projects: open space, historic, recreation, and housing. The allowable uses chart that shows on the slide there, shown on the screen, is helpful to determining if a project is eligible for CPA funds. The chart shows each target area and the purpose for which funds may be allocated. This draft should be used by anyone considering an application for CPA funds and is available for Community Preservation Plan and on the website. Anybody thinking about a project who has any questions, I'd encourage them to contact Don, and if there's some things aren't black and white, but you can always contact us and we can help guide you through that. So next I'm going to go to Paul Huggins, who is going to talk about our spending.
Okay, thank you. total spent in our community. Over the 19 years the Yarmouth CPA program has been in place, substantial funds and investments have been made. You see from the table on the screen that CPA revenues and state matches combined have generated more than $39 million since 2005, with over $28 million raised locally and more than $11 million coming in from the state. CPA grants are also stimulate matching funds from many sources and have provided over $48 million in additional funding, bringing total investments in Yarmouth to more than $80 million. Investments of this magnitude would likely not happen without CPA funding. Continue?
Yeah.
Appropriation by category. The next slide shows how the town has appropriated CPA funds since 2005 by the 4 categories of allowable spending. There's been $13.7 million for community housing, $8.9 million for historic preservation, $6.2 million for open space acquisitions, and $15.2 million for recreation projects. Please note that the recreation figure included the full amount of $3 million in bond authorization. This spending will occur over 10 years. A breakdown of the spending by applicant and project is available in the Community Preservation Plan and on the CPC website.
Does he keep going right?
We are excited to, am I good or no?
You're good.
All right, I'm still going. All right. We are excited to inform you that to date, we have helped to create or preserve more than 280 affordable homes. We have also helped 137 households with rental assistance to keep our families in town. We have rehabilitated 29 historic properties, completed 20 recreation projects, and protected approximately 72 acres of open space. George Slama from the Historic Commission will provide an update on some of the historic projects. Thank you.
Recent projects are itemized, excuse me, on the screen. I'd like to highlight a few of them. Taylor Bray Farm. CPA funds leveraged significant federal funding to install a new foundation under the barn at the Taylor Bray Farm in Yarmouthport. These efforts will help to preserve this important 200-year-old town historic structure. It will also improve safety, storage, and functionality for the Taylor Bray Farm Preservation Association, which oversees the day-to-day operations at the farm. The completed work also has improved the visibility of the site. Ancient Cemetery Preservation. Ancient Cemetery is the oldest of Yarmouth's 7 municipal burial sites. The volunteers of the Friends of Ancient Cemetery, formed in 2018, continue their work of cleaning, documenting, and preserving the historic grave markers at Ancient Cemetery in Yarmouthport. This has been a tremendous undertaking, and the effort and work product is preserving an important historic resource in our community. The historic Memorial Arch and Town Water Pump, located at the junction of Summer Street and Route 6A, was originally installed in 1928 in memory of Nathaniel Stone Simpkins, Jr. by his wife Mabel Jenks Simpkins and donated to the town. Over the last 95 years, the Cape weather has contributed to the deterioration of this beautiful outdoor sculpture, which was in need of extensive restoration. The arch was removed in November 2023 for restoration by Daedalus Inc. of Watertown. The arch, town pump, and 1886 trough will be rededicated at Thatcher Hall on September 8th, 2024. 96 years to the day it was donated to the town.
Okay, Lee Hamilton from the Community Housing Committee will provide an update on some of the housing projects.
As representative of the Community Housing Committee, I presented the warrant requesting $200,000 for the Yarmouth Municipal Affordable Housing Trust at the annual town meeting on April 30th, 2024. These funds support affordable housing at or below 80% of the area median income and are used to support various homeownership and rental housing efforts, including acquisition and rehabilitation, as well as supporting efforts of private developers of affordable housing. And this warrant was approved. Housing trust funds have been used to support the development of 2 substantial motel conversions to develop affordable housing, affordable rental housing in the joint, she did send you pictures. Okay. I'm sorry, Mary, if I doubted you. Thank you. Develop of affordable rental housing in a joint effort with the community preservation funds. Yarmouth Commons, 69 units of affordable housing developed in 2020 at 881 Route 28 Yarmouth. And Yarmouth Gardens, 40 units of affordable housing developed in 2023 at 497 Route 28 West Yarmouth. And if some of you remember some of those dilapidated motels that were in really bad condition. So this is quite an improvement, plus it's providing housing. I'm not to shut my watch off, sorry, it's beeping to me. Some other community preservation committee funded projects include the Cape and Islands, and I think some of this shows the diversity of how these funds are used. Cape and Islands Veterans Outreach Center, they developed a home for veterans at risk of homelessness, or not homeless, but they couldn't use the word chronic homelessness because the abutters did not like that. So, and that provides, the Veterans Home in Dennis provides a house that houses 5 veterans. And Forward Incorporated to support the development of housing for adults with autism and related disabilities. This has been a joint effort with the town of Dennis and other community development committee towns contributing to these projects. Forward at the Rock Phase 1, 2019 application was awarded $120,000 for the original development of 8 one-bedroom apartments on town-owned land in Dennis. Forward at the Rock Phase 2, the 2023 application was awarded $180,000 to expand the project to provide an additional 8 one-bedroom apartments to be developed on the same site. In Habitat for Humanity, 6 homes funded in 2015 and completed in 2017 on Virginia Street, Yarmouth. Howard Ecumenical Council for the Homeless, a home repair assistance for the residents of Yarmouth who are income eligible. And this has provided repairs for 32 homes. And this was a continuation of a CPC-funded home repair program administered by Housing Assistance Corporation, which in total repaired 11 homes. There are other works in progress and or under consideration. A new Habitat for Humanity neighborhood with 5 to 6 affordable homes, a buy-down program to purchase existing real property. I don't know what real property means, but real estate property, and convert to affordable rental housing. A pre-development fund where up to $40,000 per address is available to cover the soft costs for redevelopment of underutilized or blighted properties into mixed-use multifamily housing with an affordable housing component. And I think the photographs show, I think the first one, that photograph is the Yarmouth Commons. Am I correct, Mary? That's Yarmouth Commons. The lower.
No, that's actually Yarmouth Gardens.
Oh, it is, okay.
I'll come to the mic just so everybody can hear me. So my name is Mary Wagon, I work for the
Yarmouth
town.
Commons, that's what
And that, it's a little deceiving, that's Yarmouth Gardens at 497 Route 28. The reason why that's deceiving is that's not the street view. So the lot is narrow at Route 28 and it goes back. It's narrow and long. And so that's the side view. So if you ever drive in there, that's what you see from the driveway. And I know it's Yarmouth Gardens because it's colorful. The other one's all blue and white.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's my presentation. Thank you. And am I turning it over to?
Turning it over to Joanne, who's going to talk about open space and recreation.
Did I turn it off? Did anybody use this? It was working a minute ago.
Just run out of batteries.
Oh, I'm pointing at the ceiling, maybe.
You just want to go to the.
Yeah. There we go. Mary?
We skipped one, I think. Yeah. I thought.
Reacted to the clicker and
Oh,
No, maybe not. Okay.
11, and number 12.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay.
Sounds good. I have an extra one in my packet here.
Karen, are we allowed to use our funding to get batteries for the remote? Put that on the agenda.
Open space projects. Open space is an important category that we dedicate CPA funding for. And building on the preservation efforts of the Cape Cod Land Bank, which started this, CPA's predecessor, the town has utilized CPA funds to acquire additional open space and improve open space in areas throughout the town. Most recently, the town acquired the former Yankee Village Motel on Route 28, a $400,000 grant through the Commonwealth's Parkland Acquisitions and Renovations for Communities, the PARC Act. Program was secured to offset acquisition costs for this particular piece of property. A conceptual master plan has been developed, and the project continues to move forward. We expect completion of this project in 2026. I note that recently, I think we've sent in to the state EPA, Karen, if I'm not mistaken, on this, the two parks that this is between.
We are in process of filing an EENF
Yep.
and an EIR.
Right. So that paperwork is moving, that permitting is moving forward. Next up are recreation projects and updates. While the recreation category isn't separated, distinct, it doesn't have its own designated reserve fund, the CPC has been very supportive of recreation projects. A couple of highlights include the inclusive playground and splash deck at Sandy Pond Recreation Area, which was opened on schedule last June. Next up, we have the Riverwalk Park and Boardwalk Loop. Very excited about this and all of the positive activities that's going on here. I believe some contracts have been awarded. The Riverwalk Park and Boardwalk Loop, the first construction contract has been awarded, and construction will begin next week. The second construction contract, consisting of the restrooms, separate building there on site, will be bid in July and awarded in August or September. And we're hoping that both phases will be completed by August of next year, 2025. The Drive-In Site Utilization Committee will be giving an update to the Select Board on June 25th on this particular project. They have been so instrumental in making this project happen, as has our town planner, Kathy Williams, who has essentially been the project manager for this, in addition to everything else she does, which I'm very familiar with as chair of the planning board. I feel like I live with Kathy sometimes. She's terrific. And now, Karen, there was a piece here for you to do. I can do it if you want, on available funds. I can do this.
Why don't you give it a try,
Sure.
and I'll chime in
And then,
if I need to.
sure, great. On this particular slide, we're showing the projected available funding for CPA for the fiscal year 2026 annual town meeting. Historically, as required by law, the CPC has set aside 10% of annual revenues into a housing reserve and an open space reserve. and a historic reserve, those three categories. The remaining funds are called undesignated, and we essentially can move them around. And they may be spent on any of the three categories plus recreation. We are currently estimating almost $2 million in revenue for fiscal year 2026. This amount will be reduced by approximately $450,000 for the previously authorized bond authorization for the Riverwalk Park. And I'd like to turn it back to our chair, Mr. Gary Ellis.
How come there's nothing under housing reserve?
Okay, I could go on with the script, but I'd like to, I think it would be a good time to, seeing Rick Bishop is here, to have him give us a update, because it's an open space recreation project for the Friends of Bass River, the huge project that they have planned, and also, which was instrumental to us, I'd like to have Rick talk about the amount of matching funds that you were granted recently over what we had planned for you, so.
Thank you, Gary. Again, Rick Bishop. I'm Executive Director for the Friends of Bass River. And over the last 4 years, thanks in part to the support of Yarmouth CPC, we've been working on the Upper Bass River Headwaters Restoration Project. It's a very significant project that will take impaired water quality in Bass River and improve that pretty dramatically. Mill Pond, which is the very end of Bass River, requires a 73% reduction in nitrogen, and the rest of Bass River requires about a 46% reduction in nitrogen. Without question, the wastewater treatment plant will go a long way to helping that, but we'll do that organically. The Upper Bass River project is 57.2 acres of retired cranberry bogs. It will turn back into their historic wetlands. We'll take the failed culvert on Weir Road that has collapsed totally, and the undersized culvert at North Dennis Road, it's 6 by 6, we'll replace that with a 60-foot wide bridge. But I can't tell you and explain to you how critical it has been for the Yarmouth CPC to support these projects. And this past year, the Dennis CPC. When I present to the federal government, CZM and NOAA, and I present to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Mass DER, and they are so thrilled and so supportive of our project as a result of the support the town of Yarmouth. I mean, I can't thank the CPC board enough, and the voters of the town of Yarmouth have been so supportive of our project. This past year, we received $4.7 million from CZM that we passed directly through to the town of Yarmouth for construction. Prior to that, we had $600,000 from NRCS. We've received about $300,000 from Mass DER, and this is all a result of us illustrating to these organizations that the town of Yarmouth and the town of Dennis is behind this project. It's been really tremendous. So this past year at town meeting, we were fortunate enough for the voters to support our next project, and I'm very excited about this because I've handed off the Upper Bass River project to the town of Yarmouth, but some of you may know the pond directly across the street from the Bass River Bridge. When I was young, it was Run Pond. On the maps, it's Kroll Pond, and internally, we refer to it as Stinky Pond because it's really the most impaired body of water in all the town. So this coming Friday, we kick it off with all the engineering firms, all the state organizations. We're going to begin to develop a study for solving that problem of it being so impaired. So we're very excited, and again, thanks to CPC, thanks to the Yarmouth voters for the support, because it's really been critical and it's really gone a long way. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
So again, I will always feel and have for years that when it comes to water quality and preserving our beaches, not closing beaches and keeping our water quality up, obviously we have to do our sewer project. But these projects that we've supported are the low-hanging fruit that will significantly reduce the nitrogen load to the water going into our obviously the aquifer, but into the public water and the beaches. And we've been a big part of that, and I'm very proud of that. So on that note, I would like to say, we're going to the applications now, Don.
Yeah, that's our timeline there.
You have to go back, I think, right?
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's been modified if you have the old. slide thing.
Okay, applications are due September 20th, 2004 at noon. This is for the next funding round. The committee will review the applications and conduct interviews with applicants during November and December. We will make a presentation to the Select Board in January and will make recommendations in keeping with town meeting schedules. We strongly encourage potential applicants to reach out with any questions. Applications must include cost estimates to back up any request. If you have questions that are specific to only you or to your application, feel free to speak with any of us one-on-one or by phone or through Don's office. I would also say, if you're going to do that, Don can give you, what we're trying to do is get anybody who has an application for something, whatever other committees in town, perhaps conservation, planning, that you get recreation, get a letter of approval and go through them first before you come to us. But Don could guide you through what we'd be asking for on any particular project.
And-
Karen?
Yeah, Karen.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Green. I'm the Director of Community Development. And I just want to, while we're talking about the application process, one thing, the town has a number of other funding programs going on, one of which is capital budget. And so the capital budget process starts, it will start earlier this year. It'll start sometime probably in July. And so any projects that are utilizing town resources or town staff, that type of thing, will need to go, administration would like those projects to also go through the capital budget process. So what Don Marie and I were talking about doing is we'll be able to double check on that as part of the capital budget process. But we'll include an item on the application where applicants can indicate that they've done so or not.
Okay, thanks, Karen. So again, anybody with any questions or anything, feel free to contact Don or Karen, and with any questions, to get through the process more easily than you may be intimidated by. It's not that hard, but we'll help guide you through that. So next, I'd like to open the floor to anyone in the audience who would like to make a public comment. In particular, we are eager to hear your comments on the CPA plan and on your thoughts for projects for the future. If you are joining us via Zoom, please raise your hand to speak. Once recognized, please state your name, address, as well as any organizational affiliation. Please speak loudly so that we can hear you. And lastly, I'd like to say thank you all for attending the hearing and for your valuable comments. If you have any questions about the Community Preservation Program, please contact Don Marie Flett in the Department of Community Housing or Community Development. So I'm not closing the meeting now. I'd like to open it to any comments or questions or anything from anybody in the audience. Okay, if you come up to the mic and just give us your name and any affiliation you might have, that would be great.
Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Manning. I'm a resident of Yarmouth, a member of the Community Economic Development Committee, also on the board of the Friends of Bass River, and a member of the Cultural Center of Cape Cod. I just wanted to
Couple of our favorite projects.
and that's what I'm here to talk about. So I just wanted to echo what Rick had said recently about the support that the committee has given the Friends of Bass River. I believe in the mission. I'm the only board member of the Friends of Bass River that doesn't own a boat.
You can always buy a kayak.
I do have a kayak, yes, so I appreciate the
Then
river
you're
from a
in.
different perspective, for sure, and I think that's why Rick brought me onto the board to begin with. I also appreciate the good work that is done by the Cultural Center of Cape Cod. As a longtime resident of Yarmouth, I had a much different perspective of the organization than I do now, having been immersed in what they are and what they do for the community. Many classes and many programs and events, and it's a beautiful facility. And I know this committee has supported the restoration projects that they've applied for. I expect that we'll have additional asks. I know that Molly wanted to be here, but she is not available. She's on vacation, so she asked me to surrogate in her stead, so I'm here to do that. I also have an intimate connection to the town's open spaces. I'm a consumer of those services, and I appreciate the support that all those facilities get. I spend a lot of time on the bike path. I've spent a lot of time on the Little League fields, and in one capacity or another since a very early age. And my dad was one of the instrumental founders of the basketball recreation program. When we were a kid, it used to be called YIBL. I think there's some shirts in my brother's attic somewhere. So not to take up too much of your time, I know that there are many, many things that we all could be doing. I do want to note that I am in full agreement of the amplification of these funds. I think that from my perspective as a member of the Economic Development Committee, there's an opportunity to amplify the money that we each get allocated as a part of the budget process. So we're always looking for ways to match and to be a part of that, pulling on the same rope that other committees are a part of. So Steve O'Neill, our chair, is very, very adamant about the stuff that we choose to recommend support for be a part of a larger plan. So I think that goes akin to what this process is all about. So again, I just wanted to take a few minutes of your time. I appreciate it. It's good to see you. Thank you. Go Celtics.
Thanks, Joe.
And we appreciate your time and your comments, because we don't always get a lot of good comments. I remember going back with the Cultural Center. When they first came to us, was it 20 years ago? But I was here. There were a lot of people opposed to that and going, how could you give money to a private organization like that? Now it would be hard to find somebody in town who would take that same opinion. It's been great for the town of Yarmouth. Would you prefer the Cultural Center be in Yarmouth or be in Dennis? Just think what it's done for the revitalization of that whole area. And how many people here have not been to something at the Cultural Center?
Yeah, I don't disagree. As I said, I had a much different perspective of what was going on there than I do now. I think it's an anchor institution. You know, there's not an institution like it in Yarmouth, and you know, the dynamic amount of programming that exists there, and additionally that it's also a part of what happens in town. They make themselves available and they make their space available for organizations that want to meet and want to gather in a place, whether it be school administrators that need a place off campus where they want to meet biannually, or it's other nonprofits that don't necessarily have the facilities available to them. You know, there's a huge culinary aspect to the Cultural Center, which makes it very unique on Cape Cod. And I do think that, you know, to your point, supporting nonprofits is vital. You know, there's a lot of missions that are in line with what the town is trying to get done. And furthermore, to your point, the nonprofits can avail themselves of different funding sources that then the CPC and other organizations, other committees like the one that I serve on, can then be a part of amplifying. So it's a symbiotic process and a symbiotic relationship. I think that only stands to provide, you know, each and every one of us a place where we want to live, and we want to play, and we want to work, and we want to stay. So again, thanks for the time.
Thank you. Okay, next, if you want to give me introduce your name and your comments or any affiliation you might have.
My name is Deborah Neal. I'm an architect, and I also sit on the Board of Trustees for South Yarmouth United Methodist Church. Some of you may know that we thought of making an application last fall and realized that we were too new at it and probably not well prepared. And since that time, we've done a lot of research on seeking funds through other grant programs so that our matching and our seed funds are more in line with your program. But you had a slide up there that I have a question about, and that was the breakdown for 2025 in each of the categories. It was about half, further back to the front, further forward. Yeah, that one. Does that mean that the fund reserve for historic reserve has gone down for FY '26?
Yeah. No, it just, you can stay right there. It just means that we loaded into this slide the sum total estimate for all of the revenue. So once we're further along in the process, the committee generally deliberates. Historically, they've put 10% into the dedicated reserves. So it's likely, we didn't want to speak for the committee because they haven't voted on it yet, that it would be, $195,881 in addition would go into the historic reserve. But as I think Gary mentioned, the important thing is that the undesignated funds can be spent on any category.
I didn't mention that, but that
Thank
was
you,
in.
thank you for that.
Someone did.
Thank you for that
Right, it was-
clarification.
It was in our application, so yes, we have the minimum. You would obviously fall under historic, but we can always
Right.
tap into the undesignated.
And we have a project that we are intending to prepare for this fall.
No, we've done projects with you before.
No, you haven't. We're very grateful for the support you've offered to our church, and it's made a big difference in the historic preservation of that facility.
So you have to be very careful that no funding goes towards anything that would be considered a religious aspect.
Exactly.
But even when we went through that before, our committee has always been, we're preserving a historic structure.
Right.
It really doesn't matter to us who's in there. You're the ones who are going to maintain the building.
And I understand that
A
clarification.
big part of historic communities, to me, the first time when you go anywhere and you go into a historic town, what's the first thing you see is a steeple.
And we have a nice steeple now.
You have a
thanks
nice
to-
steeple.
The next step of our exterior restoration for historic purposes is the sanctuary, which was wrapped in vinyl many years ago to help preserve or stop painting. I'm not sure which.
We've looked at it, it's pretty,
And underneath it has lead paint on the wood clapboard, we assume. We have to test everywhere for it to know. But it makes it a very big project because of the environmental impact of taking the vinyl off and where we dispose of the vinyl. And so we're aware of many of these issues that are costing us well and above what it normally costs to paint a church.
it
So,
would be advantageous to you to get a letter of support from the historical people saying that they don't support the vinyl.
right.
So that's one of the things we might ask for ahead of time, that you get that and put that with your application.
Right. If we wait much longer, the vinyl will fall off by itself, so we don't want to wait that long because we want to do this properly and with environmental concerns about what's underneath. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any more comments, input? Is there anybody? There's nobody on Zoom that I see.
Okay.
Mary, are you going to make a comment, or are you just going to stand there?
And I have my written comments, and I'll give to you.
Thank you.
I just finished them.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
There's 2 copies.
I will give one to Dawn. Thank you. You're welcome.
I have some extras.
Great. Thanks. I needed this.
Okay, I made enough copies. So my name again is Mary Wagon. I work for the town of Yarmouth as the Affordable Housing Program Administrator. I also administer a small grant from US HUD under the Community Development Block Grant Program. And when you had the slide up about matching funds, I have to make sure that I remember to give Dawn Marie the most recent leveraging, because a lot of our community development block grant money is used for affordable housing, and that's possible because we have CPA money as a foundation for these activities, and then community development block grant money match those. We only get an entitlement of about $125,000 a year. So we definitely have a need for other sources for subsidizing and creating, preserving affordable housing. Anyways, it's been a busy week for me for meetings. Our Community Housing Committee met on Monday. Our Affordable Housing Trust met yesterday on Tuesday, and here I am talking about their comments on your program and your plan with you today on Wednesday. So thank you very much for allowing us to have this public input for you. Again, the Community Housing Committee met on June 10th. And they reviewed the draft plan. I want to just compliment you all. The plan looks great. I know it's been revised and tightened up, and it's not clunky. I think it was a little bit clunky before, and I think it's great. And I like how it refers to other plans that the town has already finished. For example, the housing production plan. So thank you very much for that. That works out well for us. The one thing they recommended was a small section on major accomplishments under community housing. And so my suggestion is Yarmouth Commons, Yarmouth Gardens, the Buy Down Program, home repairs, and rental assistance program. So those are our most successful, most significant activities. So that's Monday. So Tuesday, the Affordable Housing Trust met. And they looked at the plan, but they spent most of their time looking at their budget. Now, most of the money that comes to the Affordable Housing Trust, it comes from community preservation, the community preservation program. They do get some money if there's a buyout of affordable housing on site for a larger development. They get those funds. They've received about $400,000 in total from that. So the vast majority of money, I think it's up to $12 million, they've received or administered because of your program. So anyways, so right now I have this budget for them for fiscal year 2024, 2025. Right now, in their bank account, in our Munis General Ledger program, they have access to about $2 million of general funds, general deposit funds. So you'll see our annual request comes into the community preservation program without an address, without a specific activity. It's for a general deposit into the trust to create and preserve affordable housing. So we looked at the budget, and we're ready to spend $1.9 million, almost the whole total available amount. So with that 1.9, it's almost $2 million. Funds will be expended on affordable housing planning, homeownership repairs, hopefully another affordable housing acquisition of real property, several affordable housing preservations, and staff salary. Now, I'm not a major part of that, percentage of that, $2 million, don't worry. But the trust did note that coming here today, you're talking to future applicants. Just want to give you a heads up. We've usually been asking for about $200,000 a year. We might be asking for more this round. And then I reviewed the plan, and I have kind of more technical stuff. That last paragraph is really for Dawn Marie with some missing. There was some blanks in the plan that I'm filling in, and of course, the state's office, the housing office, is now a cabinet. It has a cabinet member, so it's now the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. So just update that. So I don't know if you have any questions for me or want to save them for our application, but I just want to thank you for all your work. It really makes a big difference. You know, I've been tallying all the calls that come into, all the emails, visits, and calls that come into my office. And I tallied it up, and I was scared. I think there was 500 people that contacted me in the last year. So, you know, it's in demand, and empowering me to work here full time to assist these people is just wonderful.
Thanks, Mary, and
Mary.
believe me, everybody here appreciates what you do and do for the town, and it's well worth the investment.
Thank you.
So the other thing is, if you're going to be asking for more money, more entitles a lot of leeway. So
Well, I'll just let you know, last year.
we always support community housing.
Right.
You know we do.
So last year, so I always draft up the application and bring it to the trust, and the figure I put in last year was 500,000. They said, no, just go with the 200,000 that you normally do. So I'm going to start the negotiations at 500,000 and see where they go.
Good idea to start it now, yes. Again, thanks for all you do, and we appreciate all your projects. They've been, in my opinion, they've all come out great, so. Is there anybody else who wants to comment or ask any questions? If not, I guess at this point we can close out, right, Don?
You have somebody up there?
I have just one, I'm sorry, Paul.
No, I was wondering if you had somebody on Zoom.
I don't think so.
Okay, I can't see too well
It
from here.
says Greg Wheeler, is he trying to comment?
I don't know.
Is there anybody on Zoom
I
who
did say-
would like to make a comment? Please raise your hand.
There are no hands raised.
Is that Josh Troy?
Okay,
It's John Frost and Greg Wheeler.
Right.
John Frost, okay.
okay, well, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.
I just have one, going back to what Mary had suggested, I'd like to just get this, kind of the sense of the board here, the committee. I think adding a paragraph or a section on major accomplishments is a really good idea, Mary. And why not, toot our horn? So that would mean for you, Don Marie, more work. But maybe we should have for each of the categories a listing of our major accomplishments and have it as a section. I'd like to suggest that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and we do have a master list of projects, right, Don Marie, which is,
At the,
if you ever read it, it's I'm shocked about how much we've done, and especially looking at the pie chart today, the amount of matching funds actually exceeds what we've awarded.
yeah, it's
And
it's
As
amazing.
Paul had mentioned, these projects wouldn't have happened without CPA, and, we had to fight on our part to keep this when the sewer project came into the window, and we put a lot of time into this, Karen, getting to the 100,000 to save CPA, and I think it's valuable to the community to preserve it and yet go ahead with our water projects.
Well, if I could add, Mary did the work for me for the Community Housing Committee, so, and I want to thank Dawn Marie for all the work she put into this.
Very welcome.
Yes, Dawn puts together this entire program for us without hardly any other input because we don't need to. She does such a great job with it. And she's great at answering questions, and she'll refer to me if she has to, but she pretty much knows the act and what we do and how we do it in the process as well as anybody. So with that, I guess if there's anybody else has any more comments, I can conclude the meeting, and I want to thank everybody who's here for coming, and your comments are appreciated. Don't be afraid to submit via email or anything, any other comments or suggestions you might have. And with that, I will close the meeting. I don't have to do a roll call to close this, do I, Don?
No, but we do need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second, the motion to adjourn.
Okay, we'll just do all in favor the old way.
Aye.
All in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you all.